Yeah, we're live ish. 7:16. A little bit late. I was having to right before this clear the gutters out. Had lots of rain. Had a couple that were clogged. Water spilling over the edge. Not cool. Not cool. Not cool, Vanessa. So I cleaned those out and it drained right out. It's all good. Just have to go out in the rain and climb up the ladder. Just stick your arm in the water and clean out all the leaves and debris. But just took a little bit of time. But I'm here now. Tonight we're going to talk about the. I mentioned this on one of the other live feeds. It was my favorite, my favorite oil cap, the oil fill cap for the Honda B series, and so I found a photo of it. And it also is a photo of the motor that's in this car when we ran it at Bonneville. It has a 72 millimeter Aerodynamics turbo in it. This is what we ran when we were at Bonneville. And then you can see it has the air-to-water intercooler on it, and it's kind of a dual core, I think. Yeah, it was a dual core. We have 2 ins and 1 out, and then the out's quite a bit bigger than the 2 ins are. Or actually, it's the reverse of that. The in is the big hose, and then it's the 2 outs. It has a 65 millimeter throttle body on it. That's a skunk or otherwise polished Type R intake manifold. It has the Type R-ish red valve cover. Right now, it's sporting a MSD distributor. Although I think our runs were actually not with that. I think our runs were with the stock one. A gray plug. The interesting thing that I wanted to point out is and I'll show you guys I'll be able to show you guys what I'm talking about. I'll show you a big version of this thing. And you can see a couple things. One, the coated or wrapped header that we ran. It's also coated. It was thermal barrier coated and wrapped. And the reason we did that is to not have heat going into the discharge tube. So you can see, you'll be able to see in the photo what I'm talking about. Discharge tube goes up and over where the exhaust is, and then over to the intercooler, and then from there goes out the intercooler and into the throttle body. In fact, we can take a look at that now. See what I'm talking about. So this is our discharge tube. You can kind of see behind it, exhaust manifold, and turbo's right down here. This is the discharge tube coming out of the turbo. Got a big blow-off valve there. We got the discharge tube running from here over into the intercooler, dual core. These are the ins and outs I was talking about, and then over into our throttle body. This is the cool. And like I said before on the other live feed, this is actually a dome piston. It would have been cooler if it was a turbo piston, but I think at the time, whoever gave that to me, it might have been Skunk or somebody. Whoever gave that to me didn't have a turbo one in stock, so I said I have to have one of those. Those are awesome. Excuse me. But what I did talk about was the fact that when you're driving that thing around in, under the hood, and you go to check your oil or whatever, you almost can't touch that thing. It's aluminum and it's just way too hot. So as cool as it looks, the plastic one, the factory one, is way better for actually using it. And yeah, and you're right, red is all Type R and fast. We didn't run very much boost on that. We ran 16, 17 pounds. On a bigger turbo, we had a 76 millimeter for one of that we borrowed from the Hovitz and ran on the dyno, on the engine dyno, and we ran it up to 29 pounds. It made 725 or something. So it's good, and nothing special about the motor. It was we had 2 of them. One of them was a dart block. One of them was a sleeve block. Both of them had some kind of ported head on it. Ferrea valves in it. Some kind of dual spring skunk. The other one, I can't remember what the other one was. They were not stock. The cams are not stock. When we set the record, we had skunks in it. the Stage 2 Pros, I think. The intake was an extrude unported Type R. It didn't need to be ported, but you know, makes it better. The exhaust manifold is something that my buddy Jimmy did from HP. Man, getting difficult to talk. Maybe it's working out in the cold. And again, the nice thing was that we were running ice water and race fuel, and so we had like all the safety margin and could make all the power that we wanted. We had the inlet for the turbo wrapped around into the front of the radiator, and we had we were using the small half radiator for the Civic, not the full one like for the Integra. We had another plate covering, the open area, because we didn't want to have. We only want to pressurize the small area in front of the radiator because we had all that fenced off, and we had the tube going through the fence, so it's still sealed. And then our air cleaner for the turbo was pressurized, so it's kind of cool. And we just kept making the opening smaller and smaller because we never ran into a cooling problem, which was, kind of awesome. It was great. And having pressurized air feeding the turbo, again, even more efficient. We had a big 4-inch oval exhaust run underneath the car, and we put a lot of work into it. A couple things I would change, but it would have been cool to run. I'd like to have done a 5-mile pass because we did it in the 4th mile. I would like to have done a 5-mile pass like at 20 pounds and see what that thing will really do. Because it was still accelerating pretty well at the 4th mile mark. So, and especially in the morning when it was cold, it liked that. It did really well. So hopefully you guys have seen or by now have watched the video on the Vortex stuff. So if you have, thank you for supporting the channel and watching that. I'm going to be getting more stuff up every day now, so we'll try to keep consistent with that. It's just a lot of stuff packed into one day. So we got to have a poll for tonight. Let me know what you guys want for a poll for tonight. In fact, somebody was asking about that the other night, if they could create a poll. So come up with poll ideas. Still early. We're only 7 minutes in. Richard, what do you think the top speed would be at the 5-mile mark? The way that we were running there, we're thinking it was tracking to mid 230s probably. Which would have been fast. So I'm going to scroll back here. You guys need to come up with some ideas for the poll. Can we see more on the Turbo 292 after we run more on the 292? I just sent off my motor to get a cam installed. Which motor did you send off? So you're blaming oil caps too now, Squirrel? No spoon yellow. Actually, I did have a yellow. I had one powder coated yellow because you see the Del Sol right there. We had the wheels powder coated, so I had to have a valve cover to match the wheels. So I did, when we had the wheels done, we had a valve cover done for that too. Hector's got spoon motors. No strut tower brace. It doesn't really need a strut tower brace. I think the car originally had one when I bought it from the guys at Vortex. You should see when the motor was. I did a version of the motor, I think for the cover of one of my books maybe, where it was all polished and detailed, how to dry some setup on it and stuff, which we never ran. I should have. I was wondering how shut down was the front wheel drive cars. A front wheel drive car is like way better than a rear wheel drive car at Bonneville. By that, I don't mean it's better. I mean, a Hemi Cuda is so cool there, but the back end always wants past the front end. And on a front wheel drive car, you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't, it just goes straight. Boosted 4.8, I have heard about that. The K48. Richard, do you ever run the 700 horsepower one? It's the same motor. It's just with more boost. It was 29 pounds versus 17. Yeah, slowing down is not a problem. That has a parachute on it, so it was, which was nice because when the axle shaft popped out, the car got all out of shape, veered hard to one way or the other, and then you pull the chute and it kind of just straightens it out. Is stock 5.3 cam only cam that is best for off idle torque? I don't know about best, but it works off idle. If that's, why would you want your torque, like you want torque at 1,000 RPM? Seriously, would like to see a breather oil cap with a large hose for a catch can. We've done that on the dyno. In fact, I've done the in the oil fill. I've done mounted the turbo high enough where we drain the oil back into that. But we run a breather off the valve covers on all the LS stuff. AJ, at Bonneville, you're going to want to see, you're going to be there early in the morning and see the sunrise. You're also going to want to see the sunset. You're going to want to see the floating mountain. Those are all things I recommend. Richard, do you think you'll get to the Magnum testing? Yeah, I will at some time. Oh, the poll is getting it back to Mag? Yeah. So we swap the LS World. LS Swap World. Bob, those are good tests. Bob's recommending when you get to the Pontiac 350, I'd like to see with and without exhaust crossover heat and air cleaner lid flip. We got to do that, right? We got to do it with a Quadrajet. T, that's a pretty good poll. Should Richard LS as Fox instead of a 302? Should we Big Bang and RB25? No on that. 462 valve motor, yes. Have you done the Big Bang on a Vortec? I have not. Not on a 5.7. Should I build a drop tank Lakesir with a trophy 4-cylinder? That would be unique. You might be the only one out there like that. One day I might be as cool as you to have written a book. That doesn't make anybody cool. Not me, certainly. I should have spent all that time doing something else. AJ, it will work. It's not going to be very drivable. It's not going to cruise down the freeway very well. It's not going to have very good low speed power. And also, if that's stock, I don't know if that cam's going to fit in the stock one. Scott, it's you have some math wrong there. The ejector matrix is the flow times 16 for NA. And then you take that number and multiply it by 0.85 for boost. And then you take that number and multiply it by 0.75 for E85. I would watch a 2.3 shootout all day, but you can use a 2.5 forward block for an easy win. Belly tankers are cool. I've always wanted a belly tanker streetcar. I think that would be cool. Should Richard RB the 240? Definitely that. Casey, where are you at? I remember what you said. Oh, should I build one? Oh, okay, with a trophy 4-cylinder. I'm getting confused. Rex, what's up? Should Richard V10 the Fox? Richard, you go to PRI? I have been there. Travis, I have a stock 5.3 putting a Pro Charger on it. Should I opt for a custom grind cam or off-the-shelf cam? What is it you're trying to do with your D1SC? You don't need a custom cam, just right off the bat. So the question then becomes, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make every last ounce of power that a D1SC will make on a 5.3? If you are, then you just need a big cam. And you need other things to the motor too that have nothing to do with magic cam timing. Do you still tinker around the B or H series? I haven't done a B series in a long time. I gave away a lot of my stuff to the guy that bought my car. Recently, I just gave him a ported head. I still have some of the stuff there. A 3-wheel belly tanker. 3-wheel sounds like a bad idea. We were kicking around the idea of doing a front-wheel drive belly tanker, which would be cool. Todd, yeah, that's about right for 80-pound injectors on E85. What was Justin looking for? Let's see. How much is a 6-liter with around 100,000 miles on the U.S.? Impossible to find in Canada. Look back east and in the north, in the northern states, in the Rust Belt, you find those motors there. Lots of truck guys, and since the trucks rust out before the motors go bad, the motors are so good in them. Katie, you have 3 drop tanks? You just moved to Donner Pass? My mom used to have a cabin, or my mom and dad used to have a cabin up there. Salt Flats in Monterey. The Monterey one, the Monterey Historics are definitely something to go see. There's a drop tank. Yeah, I see that in this FA18. You could go to any race at Laguna Seca is good, but the historics are good. And since you're out in that area, you can also go to the Reno air races. It's hard to find the big drop tanks, the ones that you make cars out of. Mike, 600 CFM carb on a 351. So many people say 750. It would depend on the power output. For me, that's what I go by. I don't go by displacement. Travis, take a look at the video I have up on the built 5.3 we did with it was a D1SC or D1X. It's about 1,000 horsepower deal. A high ram intake and a cam and ported heads and all that. And you can get that kind of power if that's what you want to do. But you don't need a custom cam to do that. And are you doing it with a stock bottom end, or what are you doing it with? So we're going to get a pole. Did we already do a V10 pole? I think we did, right? Richard Ellis swapped the 5-liter Mustang. We're going to go with T's. I think T did that one. Mike, if you have a 351 and you have AFR heads on it and you have a cam, you're going to want a 750 then. Should Richard make a Ford Viper? How am I going to do that? Only Dodges make Vipers. Oh, a V10 Fox. I get it. No V10 in Fox. A V10 in something. If I put it together. Yeah, if I put it together and it survives, maybe somebody could put it in something. Jay swap the Fox. I wouldn't want a K24 Prius. I would want a K24 Insight. Actually, the motor that I wanted in the Insight was my my B15C1, but with a turbo on it. Don't LS swap, Coyote swap. Coyote swap's way too expensive. I just have a whole bunch of LSs laying around, and I have an aluminum one right now. B10 stretch Fox. No. I'm not going to do that to my car. I'm the original owner. I'm not going to ruin it. I've already kind of ruined it anyways. Jam Burns is less than Ambien. That's good. It's funnier the other way. Only 62% are saying yes. RB25, the Fox. Do you have a good trans for the LS? I do. I have a T56. The land speed insight's been done. The guys from Hasport did it. Turbo 2.3. The RB really needs to go in the Z. That would be a better choice for the Z. If you LS swap the Fox off to race it, it's not going to be a drag race car. It would be what it is. It's already set up to road race. It would just be fun. Even if it was a cammed, mildly built 5.3, it would have as much power as the supercharged 5-liter did that I used to have in it. An M113K, that would be not complicated at all. A Turbo 306 would be good. The Z is a 240, and it did have an LS in it momentarily while we were doing the mounts and stuff. RB and triple Webers. Oh no. RB and turbo. An LS Volvo is a good one. For Windsor. I was going to go that route. I had built an aluminum 427 for it long ago. Yeah, aluminum 5.3 would be really good in there for road racing. It'd be a lot better than the Ford was. Would you turbo it if you LS swapped it? Likely so. An LS and an AMC Pacer, that would be great. An EcoBoost V6. I actually like the idea. I like the idea of the 300 inline 6-cylinder, because then it's technically still a 5-liter. A Cleveland. I don't see very many of those anymore. Big John, welcome. Probably can hear the puppies in the background. Yeah, a 5.3 would be head and shoulders better than a. In fact, I should look at that. I should look at I have a couple of 5-liters that were built. I should compare them to the 5.3. Jim, I don't understand your question. 300 has limited RPM potential, but should have great torque. I wouldn't put the 300 Ford in there. I'd only do it as a gee whiz thing. It wouldn't be because I think it's a better motor, because it's not. It wouldn't be because I think it's better at doing anything than a 5-liter Ford is, because I don't think that it is. But it would just be different. My buddy has a 79 240 and a 302, the T5. So I'm thinking 79 240 is the Volvo, right? I'm offended. Are you triggered? Recal. I don't know about the height of the 300. I don't think. I'm wondering about the intake manifold. I wouldn't put a Coyote in it. It's too expensive and complicated. The 300 is too long for the Fox body. Didn't Fox Mustangs used to come with a 6? They did. It was a V6 though, right? It was not an inline 6. $4,200 would definitely be probably too tall. You know, the early Mustangs had inline 6 cylinders. I didn't know how long they carried that through. What if you had it built like a universal car that gave you real I love the real world results. Real world results like a dyno, but on the same vehicle. Big John, more easily accessible LS engine for build. If you go to a wrecking yard, at least the ones that I go to, you're going to find 4.8s and 5.3s, and so you can build either one of those, and you can make power. They're reliable. Done lots of stuff with them. $3,800 Buick. John, can you swap parts with a 6-liter? Yes. The 4.8, 5.3, 6-liter, 6.2 all have lots of interchangeable parts. I put an LS1 with a cam and T56, my dad's Chevy. Been there since 2012. He said it was cutting out at high RPM. When I rode with him to diagnose, it was him hitting the limiter. It's missing at the top. John, lots of stuff interchangeable. The 5.3, 6.0, and 6.2 all run the same crankshaft. The 5.3, 6.0, and 6.2 all have the same connecting rods. They have different bore size pistons. The 4.8 and 5.3 share the same block and pistons, but different cranks and rods. And all the heads on them are all interchangeable. Well, not the rec port stuff. The rec port stuff won't go on the real small bore stuff. Best size fuel injectors for a. I don't know what an FBO is. You're trying to run turbos? Just tell me the power level. We could tell you what size injector. If I swap the 4.2 V6 in my Ford van, do you want to run it on the dyno? I don't think so. But thank you for the offer. Big John, you have a Grand National. What year is it? And what's done to it? We like Grand Nationals too. And we like the hot air ones. We like the cold air ones. We like the 3800 Series 2 and 3 V6s. All of that's good. Would you say that a 5.3 is better for a turbo application than a 6-liter? No, I wouldn't. 1,000 horsepower on ED5. Christian, you're gonna need something that's in the 1,300 range for E85 at 1,000 horsepower. You might be able to do it with probably could do it with 100 pounders, but 1,300 or 1,300 cc's will get you there. What would you consider swapping the 5.0 manual? It's a manual right now, and it will remain a manual trans. A 351 with LS heads on it. All right, John, man, thanks for stopping by. Let us know if we can answer any questions. Lots of sharp guys here. And me. What's your poll doing? 59. 59% saying yes. Another channel did a Big Bang 351 Windsor with LS heads made shy of 1,000 horsepower. I'd like to see where that happened. Are there any 6-liter aluminum blocks? Yes. LS2s. And I think in the since they put that motor in, they use that in Corvettes. They have in Camaros and the GTOs. Garcia, I'm thinking 400 horsepower in a single cab. What fuel injector should I run? If you have the ability to tune it, you can put in anything bigger than, I would put something in it that's 30 times 8. Something bigger than 30 pounds. I don't know if that's 350 at the wheel or what it is. But 30, 35, 40, 45, anywhere in there, and then you just have to have it tuned. A stroker FE and throw in a tri-power there too. Turbo Buick is the only thing I've not wanted to put a manual on. I would agree with that. I don't think LS heads flow better than Cleveland heads. LS heads flow better than stock Cleveland heads, but not than aftermarket ones. Sargent 318 is the best one, right? The L33 right now has made 480 with the stock heads on it. I do have Instagram. Beck Racing, I don't understand your question. Do you want to put a thinner head gasket on there? Or are you talking about it's 40 thousandths bigger bore? It's not uncommon for the bore on the head gasket to be a lot bigger than the bore is on the cylinder. Usually the head gasket is designed to match the chamber size. And if you look at a 317 head or a 243 head, those are all a lot bigger. The combustion chamber is bigger than the bore is. So the gasket's bigger than the combustion chamber. And I mentioned it before, if we only had 4V heads like the old Dominion 4Vs from the early 90s. I don't think that those were very good. And we have, and the other thing is, we have no shortage of Mustang or small block Ford cylinder heads available to us to make any sort of power level that you want. I mean, there are canned valve small block race heads that probably flow 500. So way more than we're ever going to make out of a naturally aspirated 5-liter. Would I put a 4.6 in it? No, I wouldn't ever do that. Haven't found any tests on the BTR 400 plus NA stroker cam anywhere. Tell me what the specs are. That might be the cam that we ran on the nitrous 5.3. How bad are the 99 454 heads? They're actually very good. They're a small chamber, big oval port, pretty efficient, don't require very much timing. You're going to want to do something to the valve springs. It would take a lot more than we did to this 5.3 to get to 480 horsepower on a 5-liter. I don't think you would be able to do that with the stock piston to valve clearance on the Fox. I'm leaning towards an aluminum block. From what I understand, the aluminum 5.3 blocks are better for boost. I don't know what you mean by better. You can with boost, you can get to the limit of either one of the blocks, the iron blocks or the aluminum blocks. The 5.3 aluminum block is better than the other factory aluminum blocks, but it's not any stronger than an iron 5.3 block. But you're talking about 1,500 plus horsepower. So how about building the Fox for the salt? Nope. That's not actually not a very good, it's not a very aerodynamic car. 40 thousandths thickness. Yeah, 40 thousandths thick head gasket instead of a 50 or a 53 will increase static compression and it will make more power. Not because of quench, just because you've changed the compression. A 500 Cadillac. 236, 250 something. I have to go back and look. That seems like it's bigger than the one that we ran. Tonight is some serious stock, huh? I'm talking a 5.3 aluminum block versus a 6-liter aluminum block. Yeah, I would pick a 5.3 aluminum block over a 6-liter block if you wanted to make lots of power. 3800 and an Opel GT. An Opel GT would be pretty dicey on the salt. Short wheelbase, short track. It's not a good choice for that. A Corvette's a really good car for Bonneville. It's very aero, just like a Honda Insight. It's very good. It's all about that aero. That's why streamliners go so fast. They take very little power. Bonneville blowing Buick straight 8. That's one of the things I like about Bonneville is there's all kinds of weird stuff there, and I salute people that do that kind of stuff. Crown Vic. A Crown Vic is fairly aerodynamic, like the T-Birds were, the Turbo T-Birds and the Super Coupes. Much more aerodynamic than the Mustang is. And the other thing you want that a lot of people don't pay attention to is you want like the notch is terrible. The notch Mustang is even worse than a GT was, because you want a sloping rear window. You don't want to create a low pressure area back behind the car. It creates lift. Back end comes up, not good. And he thinks he's going to make 550 horsepower with a 216 cam. I don't, in a 454 with a stock 049 head. I'd really like to see that. It is what it is. You got to tell me what you want to do with the motor and how much power you want. There's no best LS. There's no best one. There is the one that satisfies the needs that you have. That can be done with a 4.8. It can be done with a 5.3. It can be done with a 6.0. It can be done with any number of different combinations. If you can hone in on what you're trying to do, like what is the thing that would make you happy, or things that would make you happy, we can steer you in the right direction. Sykes, are you talking about the guy from Canada? For my turbo setup, I got a 3-inch V bend off the back. Should I stay at 3-inch? How much power are you trying to make? The thing that I would like to see, I'll tell you the story, or the test that I would like to see that would demonstrate. Take a little bit of work with gearing, but it would demonstrate the importance of aerodynamics. So run the same motor at the same power output and run it in like a, I don't know, one of these vintage classes with open wheels and, a 34 Ford, or, those kinds of things. I forgot they're called roadsters or something. Run it in that, run it in a production car, and then, eventually get to a streamliner and show them what even a low power output, like what does 200 horsepower do, or 300 horsepower? 300 horsepower in a streamliner probably is going to go 200 miles an hour. So it's kind of cool stuff. You want so 600 horsepower. So 600 horsepower in a 4.8 or 5.3 is going to be, or 6.0. The best way to get it is with a turbo, a small turbo, mild cam, springs, turbo. If you're trying to get it NA, you're going to need to build a stroker, and you're going to have to start with at least a 6-liter. My Mustang's an 88. Put a TKX in the Mustang, get a bunch of bell housings, and try a bunch of different engines. There you go, an 8.1. That's a... Sergeant, a bike is actually not very aerodynamic relative to its power output. Would adding a turbo to a 5.3 increase fuel mileage? In normal driving, not likely. It doesn't, Andy, it doesn't matter how special the grind is. That's just not a big enough camshaft to make the kind of power that he's talking about. To give you an idea, we ran in a 454 with like that Gen 6 454 with a dual plane, stock heads, and a 224 cam, even as much as closer to a 230 cam, it made 425. So it's not going to get to 550, not with a smaller cam. By the way, thanks for the videos. Thanks for watching. Ported TBS throttle body or a high ram intake. Take a look at the intake test that I did. Those make power at different engine speeds. So your choice of which one of those is not power, it's where you want your power. Yeah, Sergeant, horsepower to weight for a bike is very, very good. But when they do, like when I did this thing with the Jet over here with that Mustang, Hennessy had a twin turbo Viper there, and there was an Indy car there, and a Trans Am car, a bunch of cool things. And there was a bike there that was really, really quick. But once it got out to, let's say, 150 miles an hour, the cars would motor by it because it doesn't have the amount of power that's required to overcome that drag. The acceleration rate is really, really good. Some of these cars were amazingly fast too. But you have to have a lot of power to overcome the aero stuff. Not a Godzilla engine. They make what was I think not Lakesters, Streamliner bikes too. I'm making 300 horsepower my Hayabusa turbo. That's got to be a fun ride. Yeah, I don't think that they can do the Superman position. I don't think that that's okay. I haven't run the TBI stuff. I've ridden in cold weather on motorcycles. It's not fun. I can tell you riding in snow with nothing on your face is not good. And especially if you don't have glasses on. It feels like needles piercing your eyeballs and your face and everything. It's miserable. And I was probably only going 50 on that little 100. But it was fun, like doing the, World of Outlaws ice racing. We're gonna close our poll at 55%, so we're almost split there. Yeah, wind is not good. I haven't been nearly as fast on a bike as I have in a car, and nor will I. In fact, if I ever go to Bonneville again, I want more cage in that Civic. That had really more of a show cage in it. Are you familiar with Straub Technologies? I've heard the name before. I don't have the Civic. I sold it to a friend of mine, and he's since set a number of records in it, 3 or 4 of them. It's a good car. For a long time, that was my favorite car. Richard, I'm building a single overhead cam D16 looking to make 400 wheel horsepower at 16 PSI. I don't really see how that's going to happen. That means you're going to make 200 horsepower NA out of a D16. Seems not possible. Yeah, well, I did get a red hat, which is good. A Cleveland would fit into the Mustang, although not nicely, probably. Are you working with Brandon on any LS4 stuff? We've talked a few times. Current LS4 owner on his 550 lift cam combo, flex fuel. The LS4 intake manifold was sheer junk. I want to make 400 horsepower with a Plymouth Cricket with a 1.5 twin Strombergs. Do you really need 2 Strombergs for that? I remember being happy when I got my 100-mile-an-hour club sticker. What do you think about a 4G63? I think they're really good. In fact, when I had my Sprint at the Maxton Mile, I think that the fastest car there was this 1,000+ horsepower Evo thing that was there. G63s. The Evos can make lots of power. I don't think I have a favorite carburetor, although after seeing the results from the Edelbrock, I'm pretty impressed with it. Uh, 216 cam is 279. Let's see. Let me see some. See if we've got some cam specs here. 216. In the 268 range. 279 seems like a lot. These are not. Oh, those are not roller cams. I don't see. Those are all classic ones. I don't think they have the this one doesn't have the specs in there for their camshaft families. Did you get a sticker or a patch or something for going over turn? You get a red hat. That's the official 200 mile an hour hat. That's a big deal. It's right there. That's my 200 mile an hour hat. And then you also get pins and stickers and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's got to be a roller cam. Does anybody have a rotary out there that I can run? I need a rotary, a 12A or 13B. I just want something that's running that I can put on the dyno and run, and then do a few things too. Advertiser age shouldn't be a thing. I agree. What cam would you use in a 5.3 LS swap jet boat? Again, it would depend on what you're trying to do. Or is this a jet boat that is your family boat? Is this a jet boat that you're drag racing? Is it a jet boat that you're drag racing and then you're going to run boost on? And what RPM are you running? There's a lot of stuff I need to know. I remember seeing some motorhome drag races. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Time to go. Been here an hour. More than that. But thank you guys all for showing up. I'll be back in the morning, and I'm trying to get another video up tomorrow. And hopefully, I think it's going to be the maybe why every cam is a turbo cam. And so I'm going to show 40 cams that I ran, and only 35 of them were only 5 of them were turbo cams. 35 of them were not turbo cams. Thank you guys for showing up. I'll see you all tomorrow. Near.